So today, I'm looking forward to this discussion with Yuzzy about how hard is it to learn English and how can students who travel to the country where the language is spoken best take advantage of being there. It's sort of two subjects. Now, first of all, I want to remind you, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe. You can click on the bell to get notification. Now, Yuzzy lives in England. He's from Japan. And a few weeks ago, I had an interesting discussion with him in Japanese about language learning. And I will leave a link to that discussion at his channel, which is Yuzzy in Hiragana, if you read Hiragana, or Y-U-Z-Z-Y in English. So, Yuzzy, you are right now in the UK, right?
Yep.
What time is it there now for you?
It's 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Okay,
Yeah.
it's 11 p.m. here. So, you know, I have done a few videos about how, in fact, I did one on how hard is Japanese, actually, not too long ago. It's very difficult for a native speaker to comment on how hard his or her own language is.
Yeah.
So it's easier for a learner to comment on that. So I wanted to get a sense from you on how difficult you found English, what were the difficulties, and also the role of, you know, traveling to the country where the language is spoken, how you were able to take advantage of that. So let me ask you, first of all, you know, when did you start learning English, and what were some of the difficulties that you were faced with?
Okay, so first of all, I started learning English since when I was in first grade in junior high school. So which was when I was 13 years old or somewhere around that, and because like
Okay.
I was in the Japanese junior high school, the English education wasn't too good, but my school has a like I don't know how to say, but like it's a bit advanced in terms of learning English.
Right.
So yeah, there's so many foreign English teachers. I mean, for like people from abroad, so that we can hear or like we can communicate in English. Some parts in our life. I mean, the school life.
Right.
But even though like I couldn't speak English that well at the time, but yeah, but compared to the other people who like live in Japan and then there's no opportunity to speak English, like I had an advantage for in terms of speaking English. But like as I told you, I couldn't speak English that much. But after I came to England, since 2019 September, there's no Japanese in here, so that like I can I had to speak English, and then I had to understand English all the time. So my English progressed.
So let me interrupt you there. So you are living. Sorry to interrupt. So
Yeah,
you
no worries.
live. What's the name of the place where you live? Pardon?
Yeah, I live in Scarborough, which is the northern
Okay.
part, northern east. So yeah, it's quite far from London. It takes 3 hours by taking train, and yeah, there's a nice beach, but like apart from that, there's nothing. To be honest, yeah.
Okay, and there's no other Japanese there.
No, I chose like I chose a school with no Japanese because of my English.
And this is a school. Is this a language school or is this a regular school or?
It's like the local one, the normal school.
Okay. So, oh, should I? Can I ask you how old you are?
I'm 17 years old now.
Okay, so you're in a regular class with other English kids. How was that experience?
Yeah. Yeah. So my classmates, like all of my classmates. Sorry. Sorry. All of my classmates have been educated in English for their whole life, so that they have like
Right.
big advantage on like learning in English. But for me, I
Right.
have been educated in Japanese for 15 years of my life. So I compared to them, I can't speak English that much like that well. So at first, when I came here for the first time, and then it's been first month, no, a month or 2 months passed, I couldn't speak English at all. Yeah, but after that, like I've been progressing, and then now I think I'm able to understand every single word, not single words, but like I can understand the class, and I can answer the test or exams. So yeah, I think I've been quite well now.
It's interesting. I think comprehension is the most important thing in language learning.
Yeah.
Because once you understand, you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, true.
When you don't understand, it's a very uncomfortable feeling to not understand what people are saying.
Yeah.
And your speaking gradually improves if you can understand. You'll gradually get better at speaking. But the first thing is comprehension. What did you find most difficult in English? What aspects? I mean, people that say with Japanese, people sometimes say, that the polite form is difficult, or that the, the particles like o, ni, e, ga, that they find this difficult. What do you find difficult in English?
I think the most hardest thing to learn English is, I think, maybe the mentality part. Like for us, like especially for Japanese people, they avoid to speak or communicate in English, and then everyone get ashamed when they make mistake. So they're avoiding to speak English. So that's why like we can't speak English that much. And then, but once you like you try to speak English, or you're trying to speak English, it makes and you actually can speak English. Like I don't know how to say it, but if you yeah, let me think of it. It's been quite hard. Like yeah, once you have the experience to speak English or understand English, you have more confidence, and then it makes you more. It makes you want to improve your English more, so that like your English will be very improved after that. So maybe
I think sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I don't want to keep on interrupting. I was going to say that to me you said two important things there. One, that when I asked you what you found difficult in English, you didn't specifically, you didn't say it's the tenses, or it's continuous tense, or nothing in particular. What you said was, you just need to have more confidence and start speaking.
Yeah.
And so you're actually not focusing in on any specific point of grammar. And because you're surrounded by English-speaking people, you gradually understand more, and you gradually start to speak more, and you gradually don't feel, shy, or you don't lack confidence. And as you understand more and have more success in communicating, you are more keen on speaking. So that it's not specific aspects of the language, it's more the attitude of the learner that's important. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. It's like I'm completely agreeing with that. I think like most Japanese people avoiding speaking English, and because I think in Japanese culture, like it could be said in other culture as well, but like if you pronounce like English way, I mean, let me come up with one example. If I say if there's a sentence that I have a pen in the Japanese class, I mean English class in Japan, and like normal Japanese students say, I have a pen, which is in Japanese accent. But like if you try to to imitate the English accent, I have a pen, everyone's laugh. Everyone laughs. So so yeah, no one wants to try.
But this is also
yeah.
I know, but this is very interesting, because it's not just Japanese people, and it's not just in the classroom. The reason is that if I'm going to say I'm learning Japanese with a bunch of other foreigners, to actually to sort of throw yourself into the Japanese pronunciation, to pretend you're Japanese, to try to speak with a Japanese accent, is a little scary. because you're
Yeah.
afraid you'll fall flat on your face. You're afraid you won't pull it off. And so it's safer to stay in the sort of native accent. So it's
Yeah.
safer to pronounce with a Japanese accent. Or if you're an English speaker, it's safer to pronounce Japanese with an English accent. And so a lot of people, not just Japanese school children, a lot of people are reluctant to come out of the safety of
Yeah.
pronouncing
True.
sort of with their own accent. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but were there any? Again, I don't want to. I'm trying to. What I hear you saying strikes me as something that I'm very familiar with, and that is that we gradually get used to the way the new language works. But there are still some aspects of languages. Like if I talk about Slavic languages, then they have a lot of fussy detail on nouns and adjectives that change depending on
Yeah.
whether it's from or to or by, and it's difficult to remember these things when you're speaking. Uh, I don't know whether there are specific issues in English that you find when you're speaking, you're not sure whether it's this or that, for example, or you don't
I
think in those
see.
terms.
Actually, for me specifically, I think the pronunciation is the most like significant problem for me. Like the at first, like I still have this problem, but like R and L shit, sorry, R and L sound. So which is like the I think
Right.
most Japanese have this problem, but like
Yep.
yeah, so I think this is the most significant problem for me. But like for other Japanese people, I mean the who studying or learning English in Japan, they have the most biggest problem for them is I think listening, because they're not used to
Okay.
listen English, so they can't understand English, so that they avoid learning English.
Right. Listening comprehension. I agree with you. To me, that is the fundamental skill. If you develop good listening comprehension, your speaking will improve, your reading will improve, your writing will improve. Everything comes from that because it makes the language natural to you. You hear it, you know what it is.
Yeah.
Listening comprehension. Okay, but it's interesting. I've asked you several times to try to identify specific, say, grammar type issues in English, and you haven't said that there was this, that, or the other issue. And probably that's a good thing, because the more we focus on specific grammar issues, the greater the pressure we feel, and the greater we are inhibited, the more we are inhibited. Whereas if we focus on listening comprehension, gradually our output improves because we're listening to it naturally, and the
Yeah.
brain is starting to create patterns that start to enable us to speak more and more correctly. I think. The other thing with regard to accent, I was just thinking about this. When I hear someone who speaks, say, English, which is the language that I can judge because that's my first
Right.
language, who speaks English with an accent, slight, even a fairly strong accent, but who speaks well, who uses the language well, who uses words, the right word, uses the language correctly, I'm very impressed. If I hear someone who has very little accent, but who doesn't use the language well, that makes a poor impression. And I think even in terms of any language, like as for you as a native speaker of Japanese,
Yeah.
if you hear someone speak Japanese with an accent, but uses the language correctly, uses the words correctly, does that create a better impression, or someone who has good pronunciation but doesn't have a good vocabulary, doesn't use the language correctly? Which is more important, do you think?
I feel same as you, but like to be honest, if they speak Japanese, I don't. Actually, I haven't come across that situation that much. So like, if someone
Okay.
speaks Japanese, I'm like still impressed. So, but yeah, if I had to choose like one in two, probably I would choose for pronunciation with higher, no, how do I call, with advanced, not grammar, but like grammar or vocab. because like
Yeah, and
it
usage
means like
generally,
they're in the
yeah.
culture, yeah, you know.
Right. Yeah, they're in the culture. That's another such an important point. If you do a lot of listening, every time you're listening and reading, you are absorbing the culture.
Yeah.
You are getting more of a feel. Those other people, whatever language you're learning, those other people become less and less strange because you're absorbing through reading or listening. You're getting closer to them, and the closer you come to them, the easier it is to interact with them. What has been your experience? Do you ever meet, say, Japanese exchange students who are in London where there are more Japanese people around them? And how has their experience compared to yours?
Um, so I've been only here, to be honest, like in Scarborough for a year. But like
Okay.
I actually been to London, but for the traveling for a week or something. But like I met people who have studied abroad in somewhere, not particularly in London, but like somewhere in Canada or somewhere in the US or UK. But like they have Japanese friend in there, so their English is was like better than other Japanese people, but still like they can't study, like they can't learn in English. So they have like a bit more they have advantage in understanding in English, but they can't use it more advanced way. So they can just speak a bit English, but like they have not that I don't know, but they can't use that in studying or something. So they just understand English, but
Right.
like, yeah, not more than that.
So you are 17. So you were
Yeah.
15 when you got to England. That's amazing. Oh, wow. Your parents, I mean, that's a courageous thing to do.
Yeah.
How long do you intend, how long, I mean, when you first arrived, you didn't understand anything. I mean, or very
Yeah,
little.
true. Yeah,
Must have
I
been
believe
very
so.
difficult. How long do you intend to stay in England?
Yeah, like first of all, like when I arrived here, the school staff was there, and then they welcomed me, but like but like I couldn't understand even that sentence. The like they're saying something good thing to me, but I couldn't even understand that. And after I came to after I go to the after I actually entered the school, like after the first term
Right.
has started, I actually couldn't understand anything in class.
Right.
So I couldn't do any homeworks, or I couldn't speak to I couldn't speak to my friend. So I studied hard, but like it's more like getting used to it. So I didn't feel that it's studying.
Who were you staying with? Who were you staying with?
I'm at a boarding house.
Were you had a
so-
host family?
No, boarding school. So
A boarding house.
Yeah.
Boarding. Oh, it's a boarding school. Okay,
Yeah.
boarding school. Yeah. Okay. So you couldn't communicate, you couldn't understand, and so you basically studied. And did you have special English lessons to help you
no.
catch up to the others?
Yeah, I thought I would have it, but like they didn't provide that, so I had to be in the same situation as the normal like British students do. So that was quite tough.
How long before you could actually understand what was happening in the classroom?
You mean the first time or?
Yeah.
I
Say
think
when you arrived. Yeah.
let's say 3 or 5%. I think maximum the 5% of the class.
Okay, but how long did it? How many months before you could understand what the
Oh.
teacher was saying or what other
yeah.
people were saying?
Okay, I think 3 months or 4 months to reach that. I think 60 or 70%. Yeah.
Right. And so, how long are you planning to stay
Oh, you mean further or from now? Right.
in England? Yeah. How much longer?
Yeah, I'm leaving quite soon. I had
Oh,
the,
I see, okay.
Yeah, I had the biggest exam in these 2 years. I've been studying hard for this exam, but like the exam has been cancelled because of the COVID situation. So
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it was planned in May, but like it's been cancelled. So am I gonna leave here in March? Yeah, so a month or so.
Well, that's soon.
Yeah.
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 Okay, well, that's really, really interesting. Okay, so what I take away from our discussion is that rather than trying to identify specific things that might be difficult in English, which creates some negative, some apprehension, some concern, basically you've taken the approach is just let the language come into you, don't be afraid to speak, focus on listening comprehension,
Yeah.
and with that your language skills have improved. So when you go back to Japan, you will have missed 2 years of Japanese schooling. How do you overcome that?
I'm graduating from this school, which is IB school, International Baccalaureate, which is the one of the
Oh, I see,
the normal one. Yeah. So I actually don't have to graduate from
Right.
Japanese school. So I graduated here. So I go to the university, or if I don't want to go, I do something
Okay.
else. So yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Yuzzy, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and
thanks so
as
much.
I say, I will leave a link to the conversation we had in Japanese. I admire your courage. And by the way, Yuzzy has a very successful channel on YouTube, as you will see,
Thank you.
my listeners, if you go there. And I think this is there's a good message here that we shouldn't be too concerned about what's difficult. We should be more interested in what can we enjoy in the language and let the language come into us. So anyway, good luck to you, Yuzzy, and
Yeah, thanks so much.
maybe we'll have another conversation next time. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.